Hey, Arthur, Toast, Jake G, Jason Man, and very creative name. Decided I'm going to go ahead and finish this, well, start to finish this up today. We have two bosses left, the Lunatic Cultist and the Moonlord. I was doing fish run on the dance pad, except my dance pad broke when I was playing Elden Ring on it, so can't really do that anymore. What was this character's name? I think it was Hunter. Yeah, there we go. As a result, I'm just going to skip straight to the Lunatic Cultist. And the Lunatic Cultist is a fairly miserable boss fight in the context of a low damage challenge. He's completely immune to all debuffs, which means our cursed flares are useless against him. I have auto pause on. Turn that off. Which is mighty unfortunate because, I mean, without cursed flares, our damage is pitiful. We are going to have to shoot the Lunatic Cultist. Honestly, I'm probably going to do it on Classic. Because, I mean, it gives the Lunatic Cultist less HP. Why is time paused? And, I mean, it's going to take like 50% longer to do it on Expert mode. And the Lunatic Cultist sucks to be, like, it's not fun. It's not difficult. Doing it on Classic and doing it on Expert are not, like, the difficulty is basically the same. The main thing that changes is just, how annoying it is to deal with, like, ancient visions or dragons that show up. Has the suffering started yet? It's been like 2 minutes. I'm gonna keep the coast flares on me just to have something to deal with enemies in case they show up. Let me get this lead ore away. I might want to do some restocking on potions. How am I looking on that? It's mushrooms I'd be missing for. Add that Terror Blade for some testing. Life form analyzer I already have. I'm not gonna use a cement mixer for anything. No, we're good. Hey, Brisk Iron. It's my strategy to beat him. Shoot him until he dies. Usually works out. I mean, I think, like I said, I'm probably going to put this on Classic difficulty for the Cultist, because I really don't feel like doing this for a very long period of time. And I think even on Classic, the Cultist is still going to take like 5 hours. On Expert, I think it's going to be close to like 7, and I'd rather just do other stuff today. These were the pizza posters from the Traveling Merchant. The what? I don't know what a Traveling Merchant is. On the bright side, after we get done with this, we'll just have basically just the Moonlord. Pillars and Moonlord. Oh right, we have the B mount. I forgot about the B mount. I like the B mount. Are the Pillars and Moonlord this stream? No, I mean this entire stream is going to be the Lunatic Cultist. The Lunatic Cultist is going to take longer than the Moonlord to kill. Does Lunatic Cultist have any stipulations? No, I need to... Actually, I have an idea for a stipulation. Am I sick? No. I don't really want to do that, though. I was just going to say that I have to talk quietly, which works about fine. The Lunatic Cultist is going to be annoying enough. I don't want to have to add on more things on top of that. My voice sounds deep. I have a deep voice. This is my natural voice. I'm not doing anything different. It's just how I talk. We've gotten a lot of mushrooms from doing this. The stipulations to be really quiet, more or less. It's like there's a snake in the room with us, right? And you don't want to upset that snake, because the snake would be startled, and that wouldn't be very nice. You don't want to scare the snake. Snakes are cool. It's like that. I'm gonna get some crystals to make greater healing potions. Now that I actually can. Get some more glass. Furnace. Hey, Igor. I'm doing pretty well. Okay, getting down to the hollow should just be right down there. The current stipulation. I need to talk quietly. Like I said, the Lunatic Cultist is a miserable boss to begin with. During a challenge like this, I don't really feel like adding on additional stipulations, as there is not really anything that I could change about the game that would make the fight more interesting or fun. It would just be annoying. Let's see. Like, most of the other boss fights were short enough that, like, even if we died doing some weird stipulation, it would be easy to just restart it, or was simple enough that it wouldn't be difficult. The problem is the Lunatic Cultist, it's both very long and requires me to be able to aim very well, because if a Phantasm Dragon gets summoned, the odds of me dying skyrocket, regardless of the difficulty. And so, odds are any stipulation would more than likely just lead to a Phantasm Dragon getting summoned, and then me dying and having to go restart like 3 hours. And I don't really feel like doing that, because it's not like those 3 hours are fun. It's just shooting a guy that does very little damage, but if you mess up, you're going to have a very difficult time surviving. Now, if the Lunatic Cultist could actually be caught on fire, that would be a different story, and it would actually be reasonable to fight him with a stipulation. But he doesn't, so we can't. Or rather, I'm not going to. Hey, totally not YN. And then tomorrow, I don't think I'll be doing the Moonlord and the Pillars, but Wednesday, I think, is when that'll come around. I'll have to see if the Pillars can be... Or if the Pillar enemies can be Coast Inferno'd. If they can be Coast Inferno'd, then it'll be pretty easy. If they can't be Coast Inferno'd, I'll probably just, like, dump myself in lava and kill them with lava. Right now I'm just gathering a few more greater healing potions since we ran out, and I now actually have the means. I'm no longer using voice controls or a dance pad, so I can actually mine things easily. $55. It's 3 per. It's about 150. Might as well get some more. Won't hurt. $74, 210. That's probably good. No well-fed buff. I don't need a well-fed buff. Oh, I've got some in there. Okay. I'm barely mining to begin with. I'm mostly just breaking crystals. Okay, 447. That should be plenty. Okay, and I think we're good to move on to the cultist now. Let me go make sure I've got my arena buffs over there. Take them from Duke Fishron. Might want to also expand my arena a little bit. Any more reforging I want to do? I could reforge a few of these. My horseshoe balloons don't even have a modifier. I mean, it's never really been suffering, Michael. I don't know where that idea came from. Did I do all bosses? Most bosses. The benefit of planter boxes, they're easier to place. No, we're not just standing still. I mean, we need to avoid his attacks. Where's the goblin? He's over here. Never mind. Where's the goblin? Hold on. Snow biome? No. Oh, he's down in the jungle. Did I pin the current rule? There isn't one. So, no. Yeah. They changed happiness. This works. That's fine. It's gonna be a video? Probably. I see any reason not to. What flare am I gonna use? Probably just blue. Okay, something. That looks fine. I'm gonna stock up on flares, because I'm gonna make sure we have plenty of them. It's gonna be a long fight. We won't be able to do anything in the meantime. Isn't cursed flares a thing? The Lunatic Cultist is immune to all debuffs. There's no reason to use any flare other than blue flares. No, all I would be doing is just wasting my cursed flares. Okay. Just gonna keep buying more. What about the projectile limit? It's not a concern. You here? Okay. Projectiles despawn after 10 minutes. There's no situation where that would matter. All we have to do is not shoot 1,000 flares in 10 minutes, which is easy. I mean, yeah, it would basically guarantee a Phantasm Dragon would spawn, which is why we have to make sure not to do it. But again, it's not very difficult to avoid the projectile limit as long as you're trying to avoid it. The more concerning thing is that our arena here is essentially just in the corruption, which means the odds are high that we're going to be bothered by other enemies while it's going on. Doppelganger is usually spelt D-O-P-P-E-L, not L-E. Let me get rid of this tree. I don't want anywhere the cultist could get stuck without me being able to shoot him. We will take the cultist up from the dungeon, which could be a little bit annoying. Not a special condition? No. I need to talk quietly. That's about it. My playtime in Terraria? Like 5. More or less. What is Redux? Redux means doing something again. Hades. And I've done Flagon only before, so this is me doing it again. With some remix challenges. Well, this tree's almost gone. Hey, Madsman. Okay, just one more little branch here. I'll expand this bit this way. Congratulations, Procax, you have come up with the most unoriginal joke that I've already heard 100 times during the run. Good job. I think YouTube just pings people. I don't even think you need to at them. I think if you just say their name, it highlights it in YouTube chat. Hey, Pinywood. And yeah, I am gonna do this on Classic because fuck staying here for an extra like 2 hours, which is the only thing being on Expert is gonna do. No, if I was playing on Master Mode, we would have to be here for like 9 hours. And I am not going to do that, because this boss fight is just very slow, tedious, and not fun. Again, like, there's no difficulty. We're just going to be sitting here, shooting a guy for like 4 hours, and that's it. There's no reason to play on higher difficulty. It's not like playing at a higher difficulty makes the game more interesting or fun. all that's going to do is just... That guy's on a dresser. Okay, that'll kill him. Oh, interesting. He, I guess he was spawning in. Okay. Fire. Ice. Summon. Yo, Dungeon World Gen, it's a drunk seed. Yeah, I mean, it's basically just going to be doing this for around about 4 hours. No extra challenge for the Cultist. There's nothing I could do for the Cultist that would make this more fun. There's no reason to add an extra challenge. Like, what do you... God, Michael. Why are you typing in all caps? Obviously, I plan to get a new dance pad. Why would I not? Are those coast flares? They're shimmer flares. There's no reason to be doing that. Yeah, the dance pad broke. During dance pad Elden Ring. Shimmer flares never knew they existed. I mean, they're just the same as regular flares. They don't have any special effects. They're just purple. Where's the handicap? There isn't one. I mean, just pin a message because you guys won't shut up about it. Okay, and that is 100 damage. We just need to do that. 3,200 times. Right? No, 320 times? 320 times. You're correct, Michael. Cultist but difficult? He's not difficult. Like... That's why I'm not doing a stipulation and nothing's going on here. It, like, no part about this is difficult. We're literally just standing here shooting him. I don't even have to focus on dodging his attacks. And I wouldn't on expert either. Because he doesn't really deal damage. We just have to shoot here, stand here and shoot him. And if we were on a higher difficulty, all that would change is we would have to do it for 50% longer. Which would mean we'd be here for about 6 hours instead of about 4 hours. I don't like the Cultist. I don't like the Cultist doing low damage challenges. Stipulations, you get it wrong, you're practically dead anyway. I mean, we'll probably survive. Nah, the wyverns aren't immune to debuffs, and the Flogan is infinite pierce, so it's quite good against wyverns. Why does he never appear on the left of the summoning circle? I don't know. It's just how he's coded. I mean, this is the only boss doing this run that I don't want to do. But given that he's a mandatory boss, we don't really have a choice. So I'm basically just doing as much as possible to get it over with as quickly as possible. Which is how to Flogan a Copper Shortsword? I mean, Copper Shortsword. The Flogan's much better than the Copper Shortsword is. And the Lawnmower is much worse than either one. But on the other hand, Copper Shortsword is also... like, objectively, the Copper Shortsword is more difficult to use. But most of the Copper Shortsword boss fights were easier because... that was a wyvern. Second. Just that dynamics of Copper Shortsword only required us to make our character much harder to kill, which meant the odds of dying in any given boss fight were drastically lower than during this. Sure how long it's going to take? Yeah, like I said, the Cultist is the only boss that I did not want to do. There's really nothing to be gained here. It's just this for quite a while. I mean, honestly, after doing this for like half an hour or so, I might just conveniently come back and find the Lunatic Cultist to be missing a large amount of HP, because this really is just quite boring. And I'd rather just move on to something more interesting like the Pillars. I've done this before, and this was by far the worst part of the original Flogan run. Playing on Master is just better overall? Are you talking to me? Or... I don't think Master is better overall. I think in general, Expert Mode is a better balanced experience than Master is. Just look on the bright side. We're not playing the Elden Ring DLC. That's a positive. That's a plus. Master Mode feels like forced difficulty. That would be because it is. I mean, it is just artificial difficulty. It's higher damage numbers and higher HP. If you somehow die to Moonlord, will I do the CN or inventory edit a Celestial Sigil? And you can just craft Celestial Sigils, anime memer. They only take 12 of each fragment. And we have nothing else to spend fragments on. The reason Master is popular is because of the high difficulty. If there's difficulty after Master, no one would play Master. I mean, there is Legendary mode. What I have against the Elden Ring DLC? I just don't think it's very good. I mean, I talked about it a fair amount when I was playing it, but I think it's the worst DLC FromSoft has made, and it is not worth buying at $40. Yes, Elden Ring's DLC is $40. And it's $40 for a DLC where most of the content is a giant empty world that is in no way fun or engaging to explore and is just spending a bunch of time running through. Almost all of the boss fights are reused content from the base game or just a guy with a sword. And most of the bosses that do not fit that description are incredibly overtuned and annoying memorization processes. I mean, which part of the world are you trying to get to, Pinywood? It basically took everything wrong with Elden Ring and dialed it up to 11 in the DLC, as opposed to fixing the things that were problems with the base game. And where are you trying to get to, Pinywood? Which part of the map? Don't get me wrong, I've had fun in Elden Ring's DLC. I don't think it's a miserable experience that can't be enjoyed, but I think it's the worst DLC FromSoft has put out, and I think it is not worth $40. Is there any way to currently access a seed for a world like Get Fixed Boy? You mean making a seeded run in a secret seed? I think there's some mods that can do that. I'm not entirely sure how they work, though. We're at the 3 sunflowers in the swamp. Scattertree Avatar? That price alone for a DLC for a game that costs $60 is too absurd no matter the quality. Yeah, it's a very steep price tag, and I don't think it delivered. Is the scattered sunflower avatar in the DLC? Yeah. The guy that we kept getting summoned for in the co-op streams. That was DLC boss. There's floating area in Rau somewhere. Which part of it? Are you in Rau base? Are you in the ancient ruins? Like, what were the nearby bosses that you fought? Look, Michael, I'm gonna be real. You were just being annoying. And asking more questions is kind of just continuing to be annoying. Like, the reason you got banned was because you kept asking annoying questions, including asking a question after I just answered it and pinned a message in chat for what the answer was. The Vought Scorpion lady. Okay. I mean, she's the end boss of that area. I don't know how specifically you're trying to get to in there, but she is the final boss of the ancient ruins. One damage every second makes this fight nearly 9 hours long. Well, we're not doing 1 damage every second. We're doing about 2 DPS. I think Queen Bee is the second worst boss because her drops aren't good enough for how hard she is. Queen Bee or Queen Slime? I feel like you messed up the second word there. But yeah, after the Vought Scorpion lady, I don't know what island you're trying to get to exactly that's floating, but it's not an important area. It's a side thing. There's a floating area that you can see from a distance, and a belfry tower takes you right next to it, but you can't actually get to it. Floating area. Is it the area on the map that's next to Bellerot Tower Settlement? Like a little bit north of that? You think so? Okay, have you used the item you got after the Rot Scorpion lady? You kind of keep walking past her and you get like... Oh wait, no, that's right. Have you... I think I know what the issue is. Have you done the thing after the Rot Scorpion lady? You have an option to, like, burn away the shadow thorns that are blocking the thing. Okay. How many... Okay. In Shadowkeep, do you remember Shadowkeep? There are 3 paths out of Shadowkeep. It branches off into 3 different areas. You went down one of those paths, but go back to the Specimen Storehouse, and explore from there. There's some important stuff you missed in Shadowkeep. It's a quite large dungeon, and if you went straight to the Ancient Ruins, that means you probably just... Shadowkeep led you to 2 different places. Did you find... Maybe you missed the 3rd? The 3rd one requires a back path, but what were the 2 places it led you to? Let me rephrase that. Did you fight the boss of Shadowkeep? Because Shadowkeep has a an area boss at the end of it. You unflooded the area but didn't progress much after that. Okay. So unflooding the area lets you get down to where the Scattertree avatar is. You need to get to the top of the Shadowkeep. And you need to go there from the main path. The way from the back, the Church District, the Shadow flooded area, that part is the back entrance. It leads you down a different path to a different area. Being the Scattertree avatar area. You want to go down the main path, which is, if you start at the Specimen Storehouse first floor, you like make your way up the stairs from there. You got a Mikla Cross at the top, is that it? There is a boss at the top that you need to fight in order to progress with the story. They're a mandatory boss. And you have not been there. Because if you did, you would have been able to interact with the item after the Rot Scorpion lady. And to get there, you want to start from the first floor storehouse site of grace and then work your way up the main path. You can kind of shortcut in the back path, but you really just want to go up the storehouse the right way. Because the Church District leads you on an alternate path up to the middle, and getting to the Ancient Ruins, you just immediately beeline left. You never actually explore the Shadowkeep, but you need to make your way up the Specimen Storehouse. And that lets you interact with the item after the Rot Scorpion lady, and that enables you to get to that floating island area. Does Curse Flare work on the Moonlord? Yeah, the Moonlord is not immune to any debuffs. The only bosses that are immune to all debuffs are the Lunatic Cultist and the Destroyer. And the Destroyer gets piercing projectiles to be effective. There's also another... Have you been down to... So, that area that you were seeing, that floating island area, that is the quote-unquote end of the DLC. There is other content that you likely missed that you might be interested in going to before getting there. It won't lock you out of any other content doing that first, at least in terms of like boss fights. But there may be some other things you want to go do before going there. In particular, there is... well, I mean, you can get to the final boss pretty quickly, but the final boss is also by far the most difficult boss in the DLC, and is quite annoying, especially depending on your blessing level. I think the two boss fights you're definitely going to want to see. One of them is mandatory, and the one you're about to go do. I think what I would consider to be the two best bosses in the DLC is the one you're going to do right now, and there's another one down. There's this forest area deep underground. Have you been there? It's very memorable. You would recognize it if you've been there. It's kind of like a spooky forest area. Okay, so to get to the map fragment of Rauru, it's in a different area. You need to go to Rauru base, which you get to from... Oh, where do you get there from? It's like a whole different path. It loops around in a different area. I don't remember exactly how you get there. But... Falling Star would have been nice. In order to get to that wooded forest area, which I would consider to have one of the other particularly good bosses in the DLC, you need to... There's another secret path in Shadowkeep that takes you to another area. This one is before you get to the specimen storehouse. After the golden hippo, there's like a shortcut door. Basically, there's this big open area in Shadowkeep before you get to Specimen Storehouse. There's one of the Red Knight guys, and there's this big ramp with a bunch of the short guys with, like, glaives. And there's a bunch of burning boats that have the short guys with glaives hiding in them. There is a ladder that leads down to a room with a painting, and there's a secret door in that room that eventually leads you down and keep going down until you get to this underground wooded area. And that is one of the best experiences in the DLC going there. So I would definitely recommend doing that one. As far as getting down to Rauru base, I did it recently, but I forget the exact path. I think it connects somewhere from Scadu Altus. But I don't remember exactly where. I think you need to go, like... I think there's a cave. There's a cave... somewhere on the... in Scadu Altus. There's, like, a pond... and you go north in the pond, and there's a cave, and the cave just kind of keeps connecting with back paths. There's like an altar that has an item in front of it with like 3 perfumers around it, and there's like a side path in there, and then you keep going there, and you eventually make it to Rauru base, which is where the map fragment is. I don't remember exactly where the cave is, but I'm pretty sure it's in one of the pools of water in Skadu Altus. On the north end of the pool of water, there's a cave you can go into. I just don't remember which one it is specifically. Yeah, Shadowkeep actually has 4 areas that it leads to. Shadowkeep is basically the main part of the DLC. It is by far the best level design in the DLC, and it basically connects to everything. That is kind of the, honestly, like the bread and butter of the DLC. It's the best area. In my opinion, has the best or second best boss. It's pretty much where the DLC peaks. And I would say it's followed by the area that Shadowkeep leads to, the wooded area underground. Honestly, I'm not sure if I'm going to do this entire fight. I might just pull out my pickaxe at some point and do damage to the Lunatic Cultist, because, like, I got stuff to do. And this is just really boring. There's a huge rock formation in the distance. You can see from Varu, you don't know if that's just background or if it's actually something interesting. Yeah, we really just need to go mining. Maybe in hindsight, the stipulation should have been that he isn't immune to coast flames. I mean, I could have had somebody... I don't know how debuff immunities work, how easy it is to mod somebody to not have the debuff immunity, but it could have been an option. Well, let's just do the math. How long would it have taken to kill the Lunatic Cultist with Coast Flames? Right? He's got 32,000 HP. Coast Flames is 24 DPS. How long would that have taken? Let's just fight the Lunatic Cultist for as long as it would have taken to kill him with Coast Flames, and then just beat the shit out of him with a pickaxe. About 20 minutes? That fast? We would have already been done with him by now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've been fighting him for more than that already. Okay, well, I have an idea. Man, we got incredible DPS here. This is still probably going to take another like 10 minutes, but... Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to mine blocks. I happen to be hitting the boss here, but I'm not trying to hit the boss. It's just, you know... It's an honest mistake. Happens to anybody. Yeah, I think the bosses I liked in the Elden Ring DLC, for fighting solo, multiplayer was a different thing. I liked the boss at the end of Shadowkeep. I liked the boss in Midra's Manse. I liked the Vought Scorpion Lady. Honestly... that's kind of it for the bosses I remember actually enjoying fighting. Wild Scorpion Lady, you hated her? I mean, I thought it was pretty cool visually, and the main thing that I enjoyed about her is she had actual openings to punish her. She did move around a lot, which was a bit annoying, but she actually had windows. I could tell what she was doing, and she actually felt like her attack timings made sense. And she wasn't just a bunch of roll catches in a trench coat. Elden Ring bosses have the bizarre ability to control their gravity during jump swings. Elden Ring is just what happens when FromSoft gets way too attached to the idea of their games being difficult or trying to, like, do better than... Like, just trying to make things hard so players will have a difficult time with it. She had window? She did have window. I was using a double Ultra Greatsword build, and I could actually sit there and beat the shit out of her. Whereas on a boss like Rolana, I could not fucking hit Rolana with double Ultra Greatswords. Like, genuinely, she does not have a single opening that can be consistently punished with double Ultra Greatswords. Like, I had to know where she was going to move to, and sometimes she'd jump out of the way of attacks, but I could actually hit her. You're just disappointed by your recent findings in the Steam store? Just, like, underwhelming sales? I mean, Rainworld's on a good sale right now. If you haven't played Rainworld's like 60% off. Alright, well, we're doing good damage to the boss. Celeste is 90% off. Turns out that Naval Out is a cash grab and its community is not friendly. I've never heard of Naval Out before. Is Rainworld that came with a really good creature AI? Among other things, yeah. Celeste is $2. I mean, there are definitely some good sales on the Steam store, but there are definitely a lot of just, like, 25% off sales that are underwhelming. But I know, like, Rainworld, great time to pick up Rainworld. It's 60% off. Celeste apparently is 90% off. It's a really good sale. Celeste is a great game. It's a shipbuilding game. Apparently its last update was 2 years ago. The only thing I didn't like about Celeste is that every time I tried to stream Celeste, I would just get copyright claims from the music publisher, which was very annoying. And that's why I stopped doing, like, Dance Pet Celeste. Elden Ring costs as much as its DLC. Is it on sale right now for, like, $40? Rainworld is on sale for, like, 60% off. I think the DLC is only, like, 25% off. But, yeah, Rainworld at 60% off, I think is worth getting. And, I mean, if you like Rainworld, you can get the DLC lit. It's only 25% off, so, like, you don't have to commit to buying the DLC. 41? Yeah, Elden Ring's DLC is not worth the price of Elden Ring. I don't even know if Elden Ring is worth the price of Elden Ring. But, in general, I think Elden Ring is... They really made a mistake making the world open world, I think. I think open world just did not work well for the game. And I think the root of most of the problems I have with Elden Ring trace back to that. Yeah, Risk of Rain 2, Rainworld, or Celeste. Personally, I would get Rainworld out of those. But I imagine Celeste's discount is way higher than the other two. Like, Rainworld's 60%. I don't know what Risk of Rain 2 is at, but I doubt it's 90%. Like, you could get Celeste... If you add Celeste onto one of the other two, it's only $2. And between Risk of Rain 2 or Rainworld, I would get Rainworld. Personally. You know, I like Risk of Rain 2, but I like Rainworld a lot more. Risk of Rain 2 is 60%. Open world, the potential to work, but they've made it too big. I mean, I was talking with a friend about this earlier, and she had the same feelings that I did, and I think, honestly, a lot of people playing Elden Ring probably just haven't had this realization, but there was a point for me, and for my friend, and for other people too, I'm sure, where you're playing Elden Ring, and you're realizing you're looking around to find something fun to do. Whereas in other games, you just have something fun to do to begin with. You don't have to go ride your horse looking for something fun. You just have something fun presented to you immediately. You don't have to scour the world for an hour trying to find a side dungeon that doesn't suck, or an enemy that's actually fun to fight. And FromSoftware's previous games were, you know, built in a way that you just always be presented with things. In Elden Ring, you have to go searching for something actually entertaining, which almost always falls flat because the side dungeons were horribly made. They were all copy-paste, filled with copy-pasted enemies. The rewards you got for them were awful. You didn't feel good for completing them. It's a downside of open-world games. I mean, it's not. It's a downside of Elden Ring, because other open-world games will present things to you to do and have fun with consistently. Elden Ring doesn't. Most of the content in Elden Ring is trash. A good open-world game would have constant, entertaining things for you to do thrust at you. You'd have stuff all over the place. Elden Ring doesn't. It's got stuff, but the stuff sucks. It's not fun to go do. You go do the same dungeon, you fight the same dragon 10 times. Like, I mean, open world games... This time it's 2 Crucible Knights. Yeah, this time it's 2 of the Watchdog Cats. This time it's 3 Crystallians. And your reward for doing it is a weapon that you're never going to use. Or, like, some smithing stones. The open world... I've definitely heard this complaint before, but Elden Ring's open world is just... it's empty. It feels lifeless. You've got like random groups. I think a big part of it is it's the same enemies everywhere. You have like the same default soldier, probably like hundreds, if not like 1,000 times in Elden Ring copy pasted. And like, sure, they're wearing slightly different clothes, but it's the same soldier. And that's like soldiers and dogs are like 90% of what you encounter in Elden Ring's open world. And there's no reason to fight them. They don't drop good rewards. They're not entertaining to fight. And you can just ride past them with no difficulty whatsoever. So why would you ever engage with them? So that means that most of the open world is filled with things that there's no reason to fight, don't give you anything good for beating, and you just walk past. And then you do that until you find something that finally piques your interest, and it's probably just a copy-pasted boss that you've already fought. You might go to a dungeon, which is basically a copy-paste dungeon of something you've already been in. And the boss is going to be something you've already fought. The rewards from it are going to be things that you either don't need or desperately need. And there's no way of knowing which one is which. Like, if you need smithing stones, you've got to go to all the random side caves and find smithing stones, or you need to know where the bell bearings are that you can buy smithing stones from. Because you need, like, 12 smithing stones to upgrade your weapon in Elden Ring. So you just have to go find a bunch of them. Let's get summon here. I think one of the biggest scams, oh yeah, 24 if you're power stancing, in Elden Ring is the fact that, in the DLC specifically, they genuinely charged you $40 for a bunch of the same enemies you fought in the base game a bunch of times. Like, a huge amount of the enemies in the DLC are just the guys from the base game. A huge amount of the bosses in the DLC are just guys from the base game, the side bosses. Not the main ones, but... You remember the first time you played Elden Ring, and you looked to the right, and there was like that lake, and that dragon came flying down, and you went and fought that dragon, and then that same dragon was reused like 6 or 7 times in the base game, and was the exact same? Well, congratulations, he's back 3 more times in the DLC. And there's also 3 more dragons that are basically a copy-paste of that dragon with a slightly different visual effect. You fight that same dragon that you fought half an hour into the game 6 times in the DLC. And then there's another dragon that's also just a copy-paste of a dragon from the base game. Yeah, you remember ulcerated tree spirits? The things that you fought, like, 12 times in the base game Elden Ring? Well, congratulations. There's just 2 of them sitting in the Shadowkeep Church District. One of the most annoying enemies in the game. Here are 2 of them. Go fight them. You guys like those, right? Everybody loved tree spirits. You want more of them? Everybody wanted more tree spirits. And I don't know if you've gotten to this part yet, but... Not even bosses. I mean, some of them are bosses. Like, the dragons I mentioned, those are all bosses. They're not mini-bosses. They have health bars and everything. The Ghost Flame dragons are basically that exact same dragon again. It just looks a bit different and has a different visual effect. The Jagged Peak Drakes are literally that dragon. And then, you guys remember Tree Sentinels? The guy, again, that you met 30 minutes into the game after you got through the initial... like, tutorial area, you walked out and there's just a tree sentinel sitting in front of the place that you spawn in before the church that has the guy that sells the crafting kit. Yeah, there's just, like, 3 of them right next to each other in the DLC. Like, literally that exact enemy that you fought before. And then immediately after them, there's a Falling Star Beast. But not even, like, a cool Falling Star Beast, just a shit Falling Star Beast. And those are the only enemies in that area. Is just the reused thing that you fought 30 minutes into the game, and then another just copy-paste boss that's copy-pasted in a bunch of places in the base game. I'm definitely cherry-picking all the bad things. I'm not cherry picking all the bad things. I'm giving examples of the bad things. You want more bad things? Okay, the entirety of Castle Ensis is just a fort from the base game. Right? It's filled with guys from Korea Manor. Guys that you fought tons of times before. And the boss at the end, the whole thing visually is basically just a fort. It's got no interesting visuals whatsoever. The whole thing feels out of place. The boss has no build-up or fanfare. And it's just like a lady with swords. You want more copy-pasted enemies? I can find more examples in the DLC. Dogs? You like dogs? Dogs are everywhere. The same basic soldier I was talking about from the base game, that's your basic bread and butter enemy in the DLC. They're just everywhere. And they've got dogs with them. Rats? The entirety of the Abyss is just fucking rats. There were, like, no new enemies in the Abyss besides rats and the Inquisitor guys, which aren't really that unique to begin with. And they have, like, the environmental enemy guy that you can't kill. But for the most part, when you're walking around the Abyss, it's just fucking rats. Dogs are in every Souls game? They are. But in the Souls game DLCs, you don't have nearly as many dogs as the Elden Ring DLC has dogs. It's not like, oh yeah, there's a dog somewhere. I mean, there were dogs in the Artorias of the Abyss DLC in the run-up to Calamite. Right? There were like 3 dogs in that DLC. In Elden Ring, most of the enemies you're fighting are just guys from the base game. Most of them, there's like the old man that occasionally casts a spell at you. Except now it's an old man that just like will shoot a small fireball at you and dies in one hit. Those shadow guys, they're everywhere. They're extremely boring. And then you've got your basic soldier. Again, the guy you fought hundreds of times in the base game is just everywhere. Dogs are just everywhere. Like, your basic encounter in the Elden Ring DLC is not a new enemy. It's a soldier with a dog. You guys like those ruin things? The ones that, like, when you get near, they explode? Yeah, that's, like, the main enemy in another area. Do you guys like a Misbegotten Warrior? Okay, there's just a golden Misbegotten Warrior in that area. Like, literally the boss from the early game that's reused a bunch of places in the base game. There's just one, but he's, like, yellow, like Godfrey is. You guys like Misbegottens? You know what one of the bosses in the fucking DLC is? An actual boss with a health bar? It's a fucking demi-human queen. Like, the shittest boss from the base game that, like, 4 of already exist. You guys like demi-humans? There's a whole area that's just filled with copy-pasted demi-humans. There's one new demi-human enemy that has a sword, and then the rest of it is just, like, not even, like, one type of enemy, like, literally one. There was one single one, and the rest of them is just copy-pasted stuff from the base game. As far as the demi-humans in that area. Do you guys like those, like, shade guys that would teleport around? We got those too in the DLC. They're copy-pasted in. I am not cherry-picking examples. I am giving examples. I can come up with a fuck ton more. The DLC absolutely has a massive problem with reusing content. And it is a scam that they are charging you $40 for the content you've already played through in the base game tons of times, just scaled to an artificial difficulty. Name something good about the DLC? I mean, I like the bosses I mentioned. I like Shadowkeep's level design. The boss at the end of Shadowkeep. I enjoyed the Abyss the first time I went through it. Every time after that, it was pretty miserable. Because it's just a giant area where you can't use your horse. And it takes like 5 minutes to get anywhere, and it has nothing inside of it. It's basically like Consecrated Snowfield from Dark Souls 2. And I do not say that as a compliment, because Consecrated Snowfield, Horsefuck Valley, is the worst area in Dark Souls 2. It is a giant open area that you have to slowly run through, and there is nothing in, and you've got that in the DLC. Sure, it's cool visually, but there's jack shit in the Abyss. Except for the one area of interest at the end, the one Frenzied Flame cookbook on the right side, and the one church on the left side, and it takes like 5 minutes to get to one side to the other. And there's nothing inside of it except for fucking rats. But Shadowkeep is, I think, some of the best level design they've done since Dark Souls 1. It incorporates verticality very well. Saying it's a scam is pushing it if there's too much good that overcomes the bad. No, saying it's a scam means that it's not worth 40 bucks. Right? $40 is a shit ton of money. That is almost the price of the original Elden Ring. In fact, it is the price of the original Elden Ring right now, because Elden Ring is on sale. The DLC is not worth $40. I feel like I wasted $40. I would have rather spent that $40 elsewhere. $20? Maybe. I think I would have been satisfied with $20. $40? No. I could have bought 3 other games on the Steam Summer Sale and had more fun playing them than I did with the Elden Ring DLC. Celeste is $2 right now. I could have bought 20 Celestes for the same price as the Elden Ring DLC. And I think Celeste is a much better game than the Elden Ring's DLC was. Did I get my money back streaming the DLC? Oh, no. I mean, I can understand liking the DLC, but I'm not being unreasonable here. It's not like I'm having a skill issue. Like, I've played through the DLC multiple times. This isn't, oh, I did it once and then gave up halfway through and hated it. No, I've spent probably like 100 hours, 150 hours in the DLC. I fought most of the bosses a lot. I've done co-op worlds and I fought the fucking dragons in the DLC probably 50 times at this point. There are 12 new main bosses. I think most of them are shit. And I don't think that is worth it. Like, I didn't think most of the main bosses were very good. Golden Hippopotamus, not a very good boss. I didn't think Divine Beast Dancing Lion was a very good boss. The final boss, I thought was awful. Villana, I did not like at all. Mesmer and Midra, I like those two. They were pretty good. Putrescent Knight was shit. Romita was fine. I didn't particularly like or dislike her. I mean, I didn't have a bad time fighting her. I thought she was enjoyable enough. Like, quantity is not quality. If quantity was quality, then Dark Souls 2 would be the best Dark Souls game. Because Dark Souls 2 also has the most bosses out of any Souls game before Elden Ring. But I would not recommend somebody getting Dark Souls 2 over, like, Dark Souls 1. If they had the choice and they were the same price. I don't really remember the other main bosses, besides from the ones that I mentioned, which is probably not a good thing. Scattertree Avatar was not good. That was a very annoying boss fight. The Binding of Isaac Pinewood. Like, yes, it has main bosses, but that doesn't make the main bosses good or worth that much money. Would I recommend base game Elden Ring at least? I have had fun with base game Elden Ring. I enjoyed playing it the first time. I think the content in the game is front-loaded in quality. I think it starts out at the best, but I also know a lot of people who just get burnt out halfway through Elden Ring because of all of the tedium and boredom issues that I had mentioned, looking around trying to find something fun to do rather than fun things just being presented to you. I also think its boss design is leaning way too hard in the overtuned direction. I think, for me, Elden Ring is the worst FromSoft game I've played, I've still had a lot of fun playing it. I think if you like Soulsborne games and have played the other ones, Elden Ring is worth getting. But I would personally recommend pretty much any of FromSoft's other games before recommending Elden Ring. I feel like I've had much more fun in Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, or Sekiro, compared to Elden Ring. Like, even if it's FromSoft's worst game, in my opinion, it's still not a bad game. I don't think it's worth $100 for Elden Ring plus its DLC. I think Elden Ring alone at $60. I mean, I've definitely had fun with the game, like I said. I just... replaying the game fills me with dread because it is an incredibly tedious experience, and going through it once when everything was new and I was exploring stuff was fine. Going through it multiple times is... it's the only FromSoft game that I actively, like, thinking about replaying makes me... fills me with dread. The entire game is that potent. I mean, honestly, like, I feel like I was gaslighting myself into thinking that I was having a fun time with Elden Ring for a lot of the game. Where I was just like, okay, well, this part might suck a little bit, but it's gonna get better. And, like, I'm seeing new things, and, you know, FromSoft's good at game design. I'm sure, like, once we get to the late game stuff, it'll be really cool. And then after a while, it just kind of felt like, I mean, this stuff is fine, but I don't actually know if I really like any of these bosses. Like, I don't know if I'm really having fun fighting these things. I mean, I had fun fighting Falling Star Beast. Genuinely. I can't believe I'm fucking saying this, but honestly, Falling Star Beast is my favorite base game Elden Ring boss. Like, I don't like fighting Elden Ring's bosses very much. I don't... just walking up and attacking them usually just ends up being annoying in a lot of ways, because they're just filled with roll catches and I have to memorize exactly what the boss does. I mean, I've had fun with Malenia. And I enjoy Malenia, but Waterfowl Dance kind of makes the fight a lot more annoying than it needs to be. And Malenia is also very annoying with certain weapons. When it comes to PvP, Elden Ring is the best. I completely disagree. I think Elden Ring gets way too overtuned. Elden Ring has the serious problem of every boss just has very long combo chains, and I mean, this is particularly exacerbated in the late game and in the DLC. Very long combo chains, very high damage, and roll catches. The roll catches are really egregious, where they can just decide to stay in the air for an impossible period of time, or they just sit there holding their sword out for 4 seconds, just to roll catch you, or they input read you. Or in the DLC, genuinely, there were bosses where you can't even dodge their attack and drink a flask without them hitting you again, because they just immediately punish you drinking a flask. I've had that happen with Valana a lot, where you dodge the last hit of a combo, try to heal in your opening, and then she just hits you again. It's not about whether the bosses are easy or difficult, it's about whether they're fun, Raiden, and I don't really think that they are. You know, I can think of the older Souls games and go, this is a boss that was fun to fight. I really enjoyed this experience. Dark Souls 1. You know, I fucking love Ornstein and Smough. I love, pretty much all of the Artorias of the Abyss bosses. Sanctuary Beasts. Sanctuary Guardian is a bit meh. I'm kind of blanking on Dark Souls 1's bosses right now. it definitely didn't have a bunch of, like, it definitely had some mediocre, underwhelming bosses, but there were a lot of bosses in that game that I enjoy fighting. I would just watch. Like, I've fought most of the Dark Souls 1 bosses fist only. In Dark Souls 2, the Pursuer is pretty solid. Dark Souls 2 had a lot of underwhelming bosses, but Pursuer is pretty solid. The DLC bosses are pretty nice. Fume Knight, Alon. Dark Souls 3 had a lot of pretty good boss fights. And Elden Ring, honestly, like, it might be that I don't remember a lot of the boss fights just because the game is so chock full of stuff and I forget a lot of it. What Souls game is my favorite? I like Dark Souls 1 the most. I find it to be the most enjoyable. Elden Ring just feels like such a... I don't know. I mean, part of it is, after playing Sekiro, everything in Elden Ring just makes me go, I wish I was playing Sekiro instead. Favorite FromSoft game? I mean, Sekiro. In terms of just gameplay, Sekiro. Like, Elden Ring just makes me go, man, I wish I was playing Sekiro instead. What about Bloodborne? I haven't played Bloodborne. I don't have a PlayStation to play it with. It's... because, like, Dark Souls games are their own... they're slower paced and are more... reactive. Or not reactive, but more of, like... you're getting a rhythm in and out with the boss. Go into attack, go out to attack. Sekiro is more of you're constantly on the boss and the two of you have a back and forth fight between you. And Elden Ring feels like things are designed to be fought in Sekiro, but you don't have the abilities that Sekiro has. You're stuck with trying to play Sekiro like Dark Souls, which... when I was trying to do that at the beginning of Sekiro, it was miserable. Okay, I'm just about done here. One of the things that I absolutely hate in Elden Ring, I like bigger, slower weapons. And there are a bunch of bosses in Elden Ring that just have the ability to decide that they don't have openings. Like, anytime that they finish a combo chain and you go to attack them, they can just spontaneously decide to dash out of the way, and all of a sudden their opening is not an opening and they punish you. Rellana in the DLC does this. It's really fucking annoying, and it makes her genuinely impossible to consistently hit with colossal weapons. Bloodhound Knights in the base game are really bad at this too, where they just decide to dash to the side randomly, and they don't have openings. And there are certainly other bosses in the game that I'm forgetting about that do that, but design philosophies like that are why I find Elden Ring's PvE to be annoying, because it's over-tuned, is at the end of the day, how it is. Godfrey can dash too. I also, I found Elden Ring's online play. I really enjoy online play in the other Souls games, and I found Elden Ring's online play to be the hardest to enjoy. And it comes down to two things. The first is... invading in Elden Ring is the worst iteration of invasions they've done in any Souls game. It basically implements a system where the only invaders you're ever going to see are people who are tryharding with meta builds, because you cannot be a casual invader in Elden Ring. Every single time that you invade somebody in Elden Ring, you will be walking into a gank with 3 people. And if you are just trying to, you know, dick around with off-meta things, or use something that is not just a meta pick to kill a bunch of people, it is going to be a miserable experience walking into a gank. And it's why I stopped doing invasions in Elden Ring. The only people who are going to be continuing to do invasions in that environment are the most toxic people. It means every time that you're a phantom, you're going to be invaded by somebody who just has some random extremely annoying AoE or bullshit Ash of War that's going to try to just insta-kill your host or just throw volcano pots or the big AoE whirlwind pots on top of ladders and stuff. It is very, very annoying trying to be an invader in that game. And then the co-op play, the summoning pool system is really nice. But it also tends to lead you to... okay, let's see... just fighting the same random side dungeon over and over again. Okay, let's see if these things are immune to debuffs. I think Stardust cells are. Let's see. Milky Way Weavers are not. Stargazers are not. Oh, Star Cells are not. Okay, it's only on fire though, immune to. Oh wait, hold on. We're still on classic. Let me go back up to expert. Okay, I guess we might as well just farm some star. Oh, we got a Milky Way Weaver. This is gonna be a pain. Or maybe it won't be a pain. I mean, gives us a bunch of guys to shoot. Yeah, I'm not going to do the Moon Lord today. I honestly haven't decided what I want to do for the Moon Lord yet, as far as a stipulation. So I don't have an idea for that yet. I'll probably come up with it between streams. But I'm going to go through probably 3 of the pillars today. I don't know. The other thing with Elden Ring's online play is the co-op in that game is so frustrating to try to get to work. I know there's a mod. Can you pillars off stream? No, I can do it on stream. I'm doing it right now. I remember there was a point where I was trying to co-op with a friend and consistently trying to co-op with the same player. I know there's like the seamless co-op mod that lets you do it a lot easier now, but it was so annoying. It was just like spending minutes trying to organize the things to be summoned, and then you'd have arbitrary restrictions on where you could go. You'd get kicked out after every boss fight. Trying to be together in the open world was awful. You can't use your horse. And then we just immediately get invaded by somebody after spending a couple minutes trying to work it out. Get killed, and by the time we organize it again, we get invaded by somebody else. Or is the cultist even immune to Curse Inferno? My guess is to not undermine the clone gimmick, because if you could see one of the cultists as being on fire, you could immediately identify which one is the real one. Or otherwise through discolorations. Which, I mean, the fix for that is just to make him cleanse debuffs when he teleports. But cultist is dead. Yeah, I did some mining in the middle of the fight. I accidentally hit the boss a few times. Yeah, it happens. You need a hunter potion to do that instead? Yeah, on-camera mining. What the hell is going on with the music? Why is it randomly getting louder? Is it as I'm getting... No, it gets loud up here in space. Not as I get closer to the pillar. What the hell? Why is the music just randomly really loud up here? Yeah, Cultist is dead. On the edge where the music fades out. And because the pillar is higher up. Oh, it's on the ground. Less gravity? Checks out. And for the summoner tips from a couple weeks ago, you're able to be master for the worthy with the advice. Nice. We killed enough yet? No, we're still quick into the shields. The thing is, I think the pillars are also immune to Coast Inferno, which means this is gonna take a minute to kill them. We're gonna have to just position ourselves up high and then shoot downward. Now only Legendary get fixed boy left. Any class recommendations for it? I mean, I think just Ranger is the best bet for most of the game. Actually, here's what I'll do. I'll break down the pillars' shields. And then I'll do that for each one of the pillars. And then when it comes time to fight the Moon Lord, we will discover that the pillars have been destroyed. For the sake of not sitting here for an hour on stream shooting downward with a flare gun, not moving. Melee is cool. I do like melee. Knight's Edge is really good. Pre-hard mode against the Wall of Flesh, as are a lot of the other melee options. Against the other pre-hard mode bosses. It's a bit rough against Mechdusa. But, I mean, everything's rough against Mechdusa. Shadow Flame Sphere is so good against Wall of Flesh. I've heard that, but, like, does it compare to the Knight's Edge? In terms of just, like, ease of use? I know it's powerful. Headless Horseman's Blade? It's just the Horseman's Blade. The Headless Horseman's Blade is the TF2 weapon. Yeah, Mechdusa is just all three of the mech bosses stapled together. It's what you have to fight in Get Fixed Boy. And it is specifically Get Fixed Boy, it's not. And for the worthy. Did we break down the shields? Yeah, shields are down. Thoughts on floating from Vortex Pillar? It's annoying. You know, after the mechs for new loot? No, it takes the place of the mech bosses. Okay, let me check and make sure they're immune to Coast Inferno. I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah. I am not going to sit here on stream and shoot this pillar 10,000 times. So we're just going to say that by the time we make our way back here to fight the Moon Lord on the next stream, that pillar will have been taken care of. Yeah, you have to beat it instead of the mech bosses. Yeah, off-stream pillar defeating. Off-stream mining. This is gonna suck. We gotta deal with these Corvites somehow is the thing. They just have so much HP. And there's not really any good way to kill them. I can't really keep them stunned. Qualtipedes are no problem. Although qualtipedes are basically unkillable. Because how much health does a qualtipede have? They take 10 times damage, but I don't think they take increased debuff damage. There's no way we're going to be able to kill a qualtipede. So this guy's just going to be sticking around for a while. Which class is the worst pillar weapons? What do you mean by, like, worst compared to their other weapon options? I'd probably say Ranger or Mage. Because Summoner has the Stardust Dragon. And sure, the Stardust Cell isn't that great, but the Stardust Dragon is obscenely powerful. Yeah, I saw you, actually. I can definitely see how that would be helpful. The only thing that's kept me from using it is mostly just the range issue with it. Where, on the right side, flares can't be reflected, so we can just deal with these Selenians really easily. We figured that out when we fought Legendary Skeletron. Man, that guy does a lot of damage. Okay. Well, I don't think they can get up here. So all we have to do is just... May definitely has the best pillar weapons. I mean, honestly, relative to the other weapons available for the class, I think Summoner has the best pillar weapons. Because the Stardust Dragon is so much better than Summoner's other weapon options, except for perhaps the Terra Prisma. But even then, like... Stardust Dragon with Firecracker beats out the Terra Prisma. Whereas Melee, like, you've got the Flying Dragon, which competes pretty effectively with the pillar weapons. Ranger, I mean, the Phantasm is better than the Tsunami and the Eventide, but I don't think it's that much better to the extent of, like, how the Stardust Dragon compares. And Mage, honestly, I don't play Mage enough. I know the Nebula Blaze or Nebula Arcanum is good. I forget which one is good. But I also know that, like, Betsy's Wrath plus Razor Pine is also very good. And I don't... like I said, I'm not sure, but I don't think it's quite to the same level as... Alright, let me make a little contraption. Something like this. What about Vortex Beater? The Vortex Beater just isn't good. Just full stop. Is not a good weapon. Like, yeah, it's got homing with Chlorophyte bullets, and it lets you do things from a distance with Chlorophyte bullets, but it's not really good. In terms of damage, it gets its ass kicked by the Phantasm, and like, using Chlorophyte bullets is usually kind of bad because you just have to forego any special effects to be able to have your attacks home in anyway. Like I said, I'm going to build a little trap here. Should make this a lot easier. Also, how to kill all the Moonlord eyes in one cycle. Let's get some guys over here. Not a Corvite, God. Okay. Well, we've got the guys trapped. That Stroller's getting pretty high, but I don't think he's going to make his way up here. Just going to kill this Corvite. Switch to PC Terraria. Is there anything you need to know? It's just the same as console Terraria. It's basically the same as console Terraria. There are very few differences. You have access to mods and resource packs, which are basically texture packs. There is a very tiny discrepancy in how hoiks work, but it's incredibly niche, and you're basically never going to see. And obviously you've got, you know, the control scheme differences, unless you're playing on a keyboard. So Arkham or Archdemons? Well, I mean, that's only old, if they were playing old-gen console, which I would be surprised if they were playing old-gen console. What's the point of Call Speed having 10,000 health, but taking 10 times damage rather than just having 1,000 health? I mean, I guess it's cool, Musketeer. I mean, it's effectively the same thing. It's just, I guess, kind of cool to see damage numbers that high. Remember Ouch Wyverns? I never played old gen console. I never saw that. Probably taking 10x damage gives you a lot more lifesteal when you hit it with Spectre Hood or Vampire Knives. Yeah, I guess that is true. Switch version, you need an online subscription to play on the online servers? That sucks. Okay, please no Corvites. As long as I just trap these. Oh wait, hold on. When I jump, it keeps despawning the guys in the pool of water because they get slightly off screen. Because the solar enemies, or the pillar enemies, despawn very quickly when they get off screen. Hey, speaking of mods, I still haven't heard back from C, who's the Calamity dev that I know that I was asking about how to get in contact with the guy that made the Terraria roguelike mod. So I might just try looking for some other way to contact them. About trying to change it to be more Dead Cells-like. Come on, fall down. Because I do still really want to see that. The mod be, changed to be more like that. Oh, shit, they got high. Hold on, let me just back up for a sec. Man, Strollers can get some serious airtime. I guess that's the total AI going to work. Death's Door looks like it's kind of like Tunic and you love that game. I haven't heard of Death's Door. Okay, okay. Lots of guys. Lots of guys and no Corvites. They've all walked right into my trap. Easy kill. That's on Slime Rancher stream? I've never played Slime Rancher. I mean, if you put a Dracomire Rider in a pot of boiling water and slowly increase the temperature, they won't actually notice as they're being boiled alive. That's what's going on here. It's why they're not trying to escape. It's such a gradual increase. Like a frog, like a hidden frog, yeah. Man, I hate how when you kill a Dracomire Rider, it just spits out the Dracanian on top of it with full HP. Regardless of how much damage you dealt to it. Because they have separate health bars. But as soon as you kill the mount, it just spits out the top guy with full HP, regardless of what his HP was at before. And just imagine how miserable this would have been back before there were coast flows. Back during the original Flowgun only. Which, understandably, like, nobody watched when I streamed it on Twitch. Can't say I blame them. Okay, one more shot. Let's seal this back up. Hold on. Is he not dead? Let's shoot that guy again. Oh, he despawned. That's right. Pillar enemies, like, as soon as they go off screen. Just despawn. Alright. These guys are over here. Come on, in the hole. Get in the hole. Get in the hole. Come on, group bath. Get in the bath. Solar pillar hot tub stream. Solar pillar hot tub stream. I love how... So, Srolus just follow Tortoise AI, which is why... If a Sroller is in water, it'll just constantly keep doing its spinning attack, because that's what tortoises do. So if the solar pillar is ever in an area with a lot of water, Srollers get miserable, because they just constantly keep doing their high damage spin attack. And unlike tortoises, they don't get interrupted when you attack them. Like the pillar would just evaporate the water? No, I mean, like, the sun doesn't evaporate the entire ocean. Like, it might get some of it, but then, you know, it rains back down. Precipitation. Water. It's the cycle of life, you know? Nature. Water comes in, water goes out. Heat, man. But the sun isn't near the water? I mean, it's near the water compared to, like, a different sun. Like, everything is near it in a way, you know? the sun's closer to our water than like the Andromeda galaxy is. So like in that sense of scale, it's near the water. If you put the sun next to the Earth, I mean the sun is next to the Earth on like a cosmic scale. It's close enough to give you skin cancer. Okay, we're 1/5 of the way there. Like, Valtteri just randomly died. It probably despawned due to being off screen. When things despawn, they like worm enemies die, like they'll fall to pieces. Bosses do this too, and I imagine he was just above me and despawned, which then caused him to like turn into his gore pieces. Had several cultists die randomly on screen and count towards the pillar shield somewhat recently? Huh. Maybe I'm wrong on that one then. I don't really pay too much attention to them. Man, I sure do love having that guy at like 30 HP and then killing his mount. But instead of a sequel, they made a remake of Terraria? I mean, who wants a Terraria remake? Why would you want that? What do you... You want a remake of Terraria instead of a sequel? Why? Yeah, the game's like 13 years old and gets a lot of support. Yeah, but like Relogic only has so much time. I don't know why you would want that instead of them working on a new game or even just like an update for Terraria. Because a remake's not going to have new content. A remake is just going to be the same content, but like with better graphics or a better engine, or like rebalanced. A remake could be an opportunity to do a lot of things better. Yeah, I mean, so is a new game. Cannot a man wish? No. No, I don't believe in wishes. In an ethical sense, I think wishes are morally impermissible. What would a sequel even entail? I mean, new bosses, new biomes, an entire new framework for the game existing. Like, I've seen the concept of subworlds floated around a bit. Or things like caves in Don't Starve Together. Where instead of everything being in one map, there could be sub-maps that could go to, which is difficult to get to work in Terraria's current framework. I know some mods have managed to make it work, but something that would be a lot more supportive of that to begin with. Just an entire new concept of enemies and mechanics. You know, it's hard to say what a sequel would entail exactly, because it would depend on what Relogic makes of it, but... Spelunky did that? Like subworlds? Or just like overhauling mechanics and stuff? I mean, generally a sequel is... you know, the same spirit of the game, but new mechanics, whole new bosses and stories and stuff like that. I mean, compare Risk of Rain 2 to Risk of Rain 1. Or, and if you compare The Binding of Isaac to The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, Rebirth is, at its core seems similar, but is very different, and is balanced in a completely different way and has a ton of new stuff in it. Not everything happening in one layer. Dark Souls 1 to Dark Souls 2 to Dark Souls 3, the games are very different, even though they have the same underlying concepts. And it's not like generally you get remakes for games when they are no longer relevant. Right? Like, it's to give graphical updates or otherwise revitalize games that are dead, but Terraria is none of those things. Terraria is very much so alive and worked on. A remake wouldn't really accomplish much. Because the current framework was outdated? Yeah, but why make a remake instead of just making a new game? Like, why make Terraria remake instead of Terraria 2? No, Otherworld was more of a sequel than a remake. Alright. Or like a spin-off. There's a fun thought experiment. I mean, it's something to think about. I'm not, like, trying to say not to say something like that, like you did something horrible, but I don't really get why you would do it instead of just making a sequel. Like, I would love to see a new game. I would hate to have Relogic spend a bunch of time just making Terraria again. It'd be like if Bethesda said, hey, you guys know Elder Scrolls 6? Yeah, we're not going to make that. Instead, we're just going to remake Skyrim. It's how I feel with respect to that. Like, they do that? No, they re-release Skyrim. They don't remake Skyrim. Remaking Skyrim would be like doing the same story again, but just like changing around mechanics or giving it a graphical overhaul and stuff like that. Like, I mean, to be clear, we're talking about a remake, not a remaster. Right? Like, those Skyrim things are basically remasters. Remakes are things like the Demon Souls remake or the Resident Evil remakes, where it's the same core concept, but it's remade with a new system. And I mean, maybe Relogic does have the master tapes. You don't know. It might. In general, I'm not really a big fan of game remakes. Like, when they happen, it can be nice. I liked the Dark Souls 1. Remasters also a lot less work than full-on remakes. In general, I'd usually rather see new things rather than old things be remade. Just because I like new things. And I don't really mind things being janky or graphically outdated. Do I like diamonds? No. This Wraith is gonna kill me. When you studios actually remake games they are still updating? Don't think so. It seems kind of pointless to do that. I mean, I guess Overwatch, like, remade into Overwatch 2, which wasn't really a remake as much as an update, but... I strike you as a femboy? I don't hit people. I don't resort to physical violence. Don't say things like that. Don't spread rumors like that. Remakes only make sense for stories that aren't able to be experienced because of outdated consoles. Overwatch 2 isn't a sequel. Yeah, it's more of just, like, selling the same game again. It was more of a tongue-in-cheek jab at Overwatch 2 than anything else, Jackie. Love Overwatch? I've never been an Overwatch fan. Instead of doing Get Fixed Boy Calamity? No. I don't particularly like Calamity mod. I don't really want to play it more. I feel like the one time I played it, I got a pretty good understanding of it. Any particular reason for doing Solar first? We are not doing Solar first. We did Stardust first, and then we moved on to Solar, and then we're going to move on to the right of the world. Let me get rid of this damn Wraith. What's going on down here? Oh, those guys getting stuck. None of these enemies attack the walls, you make a pain pit inside the pillar radius. I could if none of the enemies attack the walls, but they do. Corvites, the flying enemies, go through walls, and I can't really deal with them fast enough. Didn't I already do if they're only one? Yeah. Yeah, I did. But that was 4 curse flares. I mean, we've only been doing this run for maybe like 30 or 40 hours or something. It hasn't been very long. Sorry, I was checking something on my phone real quick. Need to remember to keep shooting. Will the streams be in a video format? I mean, they just exist as VODs right now. You could go watch them if you want to. I'll probably edit a video out of these. I'm staying at my grandparents' house next week to cat sit, and I want to have this done by then so I can edit it, among other things, into a video. Noida? I hate Noida. Noida's like the worst game I've ever played. Why don't I stream to Twitch? Because I stream on YouTube. I've streamed on Twitch before. It sucked. Twitch is just a much less successful platform. Nord is just a game for people who hate themselves, Borger. In my experience with it, at least. Heard Joma played it? How'd that go? Alright, almost here. Okay, I'm gonna, to speed this up a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and give these enemies half as much HP. Should make this process a bit faster, because we're still only halfway there for the solar pillar. I should have kept doing this on Tmod Loader so I could speed the game up. What do I see? I see chat. But yeah, Twitch just is kind of a... It's not a very good platform for small streamers. And... like, I already have an established audience on YouTube, so trying to... like, migrate is not going to go well. Did that guy just spawn in on screen? Did you see that? It totally looked like he just spawned in on screen. Yeah, no, Twitch has basically no discovery. Twitch is where you go to find people to watch that you already know you want to watch. Finding new people to watch on Twitch is awful. You don't really go to Twitch to find people. You go to Twitch to watch people you know you want to watch. Wasn't Twitch of a thing where you can pay money to have the algorithm recommend your streams more? I don't know. Believe it. Possible to stream on both platforms at the same time, and it doesn't really make sense to Joachim or Joachim. Like, yes, I can do that. It would take twice as much bandwidth to stream, which means it would probably hurt the quality of both streams because it would be difficult to do two simultaneous 1080p, 60 FPS, 8000 bitrate streams. And the other thing is that, like, if I do that, I'm just splitting my audience. Because, like, I'd rather just have people watch me on one platform, and YouTube's the more popular one, than try to get people to watch me on both, but it's like 20 people on one and 3 on the other. Right? Like, I've done simultaneous streams before on Twitch and YouTube, and it's just not worth it because, like, I mean, most of the people that want to watch me are going to be watching on YouTube. Maybe, like, 1 or 2 people is going to be watching on Twitch, but, like, they're just going to be on the platform that everybody's on. The Twitch chat isn't going to be active because, you know, the audience is just going to be on YouTube. It doesn't really make sense. Especially since, you know, it takes twice as much bandwidth in order to do that. There are a couple people that might find it on Twitch or might prefer watching on Twitch, but, like, if somebody wants to watch my stream, odds are they would just watch it on YouTube anyway. Like, having it being offered on Twitch is not going to be the difference between most people watching it or not watching it. And, like, yeah, Twitch has nicer chat moderation things. It's got emotes and, pretty sure you get more money from Twitch donations and subscriptions than YouTube ones, but, like, I have never had good experiences streaming on Twitch, and I've tried it a few times. I don't think it's worth my time. Let me despawn some of these guys. A sorbet is a frozen dessert. It's basically pureed fruit and sugar. I gotta despawn. There's too many, like, angry nimbuses and possessed armors about. I can't get solo enemies to spawn, taking up spawn slots. Okay, now we should be able to get plenty. There we go. Alright, now we just need to get them all in here. Come on, walk in. Alright, we're getting close. It's unfair that people compare Minecraft and Terraria? What do you mean unfair? I mean, they have similarities. They had a lot more similarities a decade ago. They developed in very different ways. They're both very popular games with some, you know, baseline similarities. It's a shark. I mean, I think it makes sense why people compare them. I don't think it really makes any reason to compare them. They're very two different genres of games. Get a few more. People compare those just because they weren't really similar games back on the market when they were released. Well, and they both came out at a very similar time and rose in popularity at a very similar time. Like, when they were released, Minecraft and Terraria were both very popular and had a lot of similarities. You know, original Terraria focused a lot more on, well, mining and crafting than modern Terraria does. Modern Terraria's developed a lot more into, like, a combat direction. It's very obvious if you've played, like, the old release versions that are available on the betas on Steam. Like 1.0.6 and 1.1. Whatever. Those games, if you've played those versions, it makes a lot more sense why people compare Minecraft to Terraria. I mean, it's... Terraria evolved, Minecraft stagnated. Yeah, I mean, Minecraft is a cash cow. And it is developed... I mean, I imagine Minecraft is basically just used for money, right? It's like, originally Mojang and now Microsoft just milking it for money because it is the most popular video game ever made. And you really don't need to do much for it to continue making money off of it. It prints money just by existing. And Terraria made Relogic a lot of money, probably enough to basically keep the employees there set for life. But Relogic doesn't seem to care very much for overly monetizing the game or making a lot of money off of it. It's more of a passion thing. Whereas it feels like the passion for developing Minecraft left a long time ago. And so you end up with Minecraft receiving bland updates that don't change the game very much, whereas Terraria has a lot of passionate developers that constantly keep implementing new things. I don't think they fired Notch. Didn't Notch sell Minecraft? For like a lot of money? He sold his position as CEO. Yeah, for like billions of dollars. More money than you or I could ever hope to see in our lifetime. He did not get fired. He is not a victim here. Notch has nothing to do with the game anymore because he was being transphobic. Was he like still on some kind of position and they were like, yeah, dude, go play Celeste or get out? The Microsoft? Is it something like that? I'm not super familiar with Minecraft's direction. I know Notch is like a shitty human being. But Notch sold the game before that. A lot of the core features were made for a different older game. Did have plenty of plans for the game. Any more pillars? This is our second pillar, but this is also going to be probably the slowest pillar because we can't really... Vortex will be very fast, and Nebula should at least be faster than Solar. Most people probably don't recall this, but many Minecraft updates were genuinely just taking community mods and adding them. I don't remember that. I've never really played Minecraft mods much. Yeah, we're at Solo now. Solo's almost done, and I'm doing Solo on Classic just to speed it up a bit. Vortex probably bump back up to Expert, and we'll see how Nebula goes. You don't see how Minecraft is an exceptional game? I mean, I think Minecraft is popular because it's not an exceptional game. It is accessible, which for a game to be popular is extremely important. Minecraft's accessibility and the fact that it's just bland is what allows it to be extremely popular. Because it can appeal to basically anybody. And in order for a game to be played by as wide of a demographic as Minecraft is, it needs to be basic. It needs to be simple. It's got some complex concepts, like redstone stuff. It's got mods for people that really want to get into things. But the core game is just extremely simple, and people who have never played video games can just start playing Minecraft and understand and enjoy it. And that is incredibly important for a game to be as successful as Minecraft is. It also had a huge community movement behind it, between how popular it is on YouTube and how popular like watching Minecraft was. It came at a time when YouTube was also like becoming really big, and Minecraft was a huge thing on YouTube. Same reason Skyrim is popular. Why does an ocean shallow as a puddle? Yeah, Skyrim is a lot more approachable than a lot of other RPGs, which makes it very easy for people to pick up. And it's fun to play. Really hate Minecraft's progression system. Yeah, I personally, I haven't played Minecraft since like 2013. I've never had much interest in it after that. I was really into it as a kid, but I just found the game to be boring. What progression? I imagine they mean just like the gathering XP and then repeatedly re-enchanting things until you get the best one. And that's basically it as far as Minecraft progression. You got very basic ore progression, which basically hasn't changed in 13 years aside from like adding like netherite. And then you got like the enchantments. Hit the early game progression? I mean, isn't like the entirety of Minecraft just the early game progression? Like, when does early game progression in Minecraft stop? Okay, this will be the end of Solar here. You create a new world, get iron armor, and immediately just get bored and leave. I think Minecraft will be remembered in like 1,000 years. It's... Culturally speaking, if any video games were to be remembered, I think Minecraft, I think like Mario, and honestly, I don't know if maybe Pokemon. Like, if I were to pick any video games that I think would have the best chances of being remembered throughout history as, like, icons of defining video games and video game cultures or whatever, I think Minecraft, Mario, and Pokemon are probably the leading candidates there. Because of their extreme popularity and just ubiquity in culture. If you see references to games, you know, looking through things, odds are those ones will be mentioned or alluded to in some way. Rogue probably is going to have its name spoken for quite some time to come. I don't agree at all. I don't think the rogue-like genre is popular enough to stand the test of time in the same way that the current best-selling video game of all time and things like Mario and Pokemon, which have extreme cultural movements behind them. I think Final Fantasy might be remembered as well. I mean, generally, the things that are remembered throughout history are the things that were just found. Like, the vast majority of information that existed throughout history was just lost. And what we know about is just stuff that was found. And the more popular something is, the more likely it is for references to it to exist. And 1,000 years from now, I mean, all of the current information we have stored to drives is either going to be archived or gone. And if it's archived, then basically every video game could be remembered. If it's gone, then all you'd have would be ones that, you know, future historians could find some way to, some references to or information about. And I think of those, like, if video games became lost media, I think the most likely ones to be remembered would be, like, Minecraft, Mario, or Pokemon. How many franchises are still going in 100 years? I would not be surprised if FIFA is still going in 100 years. Or like the Madden games or something. Well, haven't, like, the Madden games been being released since, like, the 70s or 80s? Like, every year? And they're still coming out? Like, if there was a video game franchise that I felt like was still going to be released 100 years from now, it would be one of those, like, random sports franchises that consistently makes a game every single year. Or some derivative of those franchises. Yeah, I mean, 1,000 years is just such an obscene amount of time that, like, odds are nothing we have in the world today. It depends on the development of media storage and things. Because, I mean, just as a reality, the amount of data that humanity produces, like, we would not be able to store 1,000 years of that unless there were some serious revolutions in how we store data. Like, the data we have now just isn't going to last 1,000 years with our current storage methods. And whether or not people want to pay to store the media. You know, poems and stuff from 1,000 years ago? We do, but we know very few of the poems and books from thousands of years ago. Like, the vast majority of things that were written thousands of years ago, we don't have. We have what survived, but most of the stuff didn't survive. Libraries and books were burned. The diaries and journals were destroyed. Records were destroyed. I see no reason to assume that wouldn't be the case, Musketeer. Imagine if Meta or some other company archived all information about a person and made an AI so you could talk to them after death. And I'm sure that could be a business model in the future. We already kind of have business models like that now. What about Marvel? Do you think it'll last a few centuries? I don't know. I mean, in our current society, recording things is easy, but like, what if the framework of the internet breaks down or something over the course of 1,000 years? Or what if the frameworks and clouds that we use to store and communicate data are no longer supported and break down? And then drives degrade, or new information keeps coming and overwriting old data, because you can't just store things indefinitely. You don't have infinite storage space. It's just the scale of time, like 1,000 years. I think that the vast majority of the data we currently have stored will not be around in 1,000 years. I mean, we still have lost media from, like, a couple decades ago, let alone 1,000 years ago, right? Like, there are TV shows, movies, all sorts of things that just don't exist anymore because the recordings were destroyed, or... Like, isn't the original, like, recording of the moon landing destroyed? Like, the one that NASA has, like, don't they not have it anymore? We have lost media from 10 years ago? Yeah, amplify that by up to 1,000 years, and the odds of things surviving, I don't think is particularly high. Because even if somebody, like some rich guy, is like, hey, I want to make a fund and work on preserving this media, he could do that, and he could set aside $1 billion to store all this information. That money's going to run out eventually. You know, the cost of maintaining those servers is not going to be indefinite. It's not going to last indefinitely. And 1,000 years from now, I mean, wars happen, bombs drop, where servers are hosted. There's all sorts of ways for things to get destroyed. You extremely important lost media for Geometry Dash level from 6 years ago. 2018 Geometry Dash levels is lost media. And yeah, like the more prominent something is, the more likely it is to survive. But again, 1,000 years is a really fucking long time. I mean, that is generations and generations. The US has only existed for like 250 years. Right? We're talking about, you know, are the things that we currently see and interact with going to exist 4 times longer than the US has? Chess has been around for a long time. It's a very simple game and is continuously played. Yeah, and I'm sure there were plenty of other games that weren't remembered. Like, yeah, there are things that survive long periods of time, but the vast majority of it doesn't. Especially because, I mean, culturally, a lot of the stuff that survived would have been just stuff from people who... the nations that conquered other nations implemented. Like, I'm sure there are plenty of games and traditions from cultures or countries that lost wars and were subjugated or essentially just assimilated into other countries, such that the things that they did were just obsoleted. The fact that we can easily comprehend how many pieces of old media there are says a lot about how much of it is missing. Okay, one more pillar. Nebula. Nebula's gonna suck a bit. Like, what would you do if I tasked you with ensuring that a piece of media survives and is accessible 1,000 years from now? And is remembered 1,000 years from now? How would you ensure, to the best of your capability, that that would happen? What would you lock it in a vault somewhere? Would you try to set up a fund with people to maintain it and make sure it's accessible? Would you try to distribute it as much as possible to make sure there are as many references to it as possible? Put it on the moon in a time capsule? Well, I mean, what if... what if they just don't find it on the moon? I mean, the moon is giant. What if people forget where the time capsule is located and just nobody finds it? I mean, the moon's basically a giant wasteland. There's a chance we can't even read the things we sent in the future due to a language barrier. I mean, do you leave like a Rosetta Stone type thing with it? Right? I mean, surely they might not remember the exact language we're using now, but they might remember some other language and be able to translate from that if you have some kind of universal translator. Put it next to the flag. But what if they forget where the flag is? I have no idea what you're talking about, Chris. Give infinite resources? I didn't say given infinite resources. I said, what would you do if you were tasked with doing it? And then keep in mind that the people trying to preserve these things do not have the resources to do something like that. If the methods that you could do, given, you know, pretty much anything you wanted to do in a thought experiment, and even then it's still fallible and isn't guaranteed to be accessible, then the people who do not have those resources and are not trying nearly as hard to preserve those things are going to do not nearly as good of a job of ensuring that it's available in 1,000 years. Because at the end of the day, you can't. What's the point of this challenge? I mean, we're playing with a flare gun. Big towers don't last forever. I mean, it's also entirely possible, you know, over the span of 1,000 years, you have people intentionally, like fascists that intentionally try to destroy information and prevent people from accessing historical knowledge or thinking out against regimes, like all sorts of book burnings that have happened throughout history and destructions of libraries. The Leaning Tower of Pisa would fall over in less than 200 years without continuous management. I mean, read the pinned message, Depot. There is currently not a stipulation, as we're just doing the pillars. I will decide what I'm going to do for the Moonlord between streams. I'm just killing the pillars right now. And we're almost done with the pillars, which is probably where the stream will end. I'll deal with actually killing them off stream. I don't want to just sit there and shoot downward for a couple hours, which is what actually killing them would entail. I don't want to do that on stream. Oh, this is much easier, Depot. Cursed Flares do 6 times as much damage. And it's entirely, like, what people remember of our culture is going to be whatever survives the test of time. And it's entirely possible that what could survive the test of time is, like, you know, a historian's reading through some ancient archives of the internet, and they find just, like, a 4chan b-board. Or they find, like, a picture of a Stolfo porn, mentions on the Terraria wiki of, adding back Okram, and references to Elden Ring and a game called Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree, but no actual information about what it is, but trying to draw conclusions based on fragmented data. Let's say a Stolfo porn? I mean, most of the information on the internet is probably porn. Like, if anything is going to survive about the internet, I feel like the most likely thing to survive is going to be some form of pornography. What was the internet used for? OnlyFans. A study said like 40% of all internet traffic. Yeah. All we know about the Shadow of the Erd Tree is that it sucked according to a single archived rant in by some sort of frozen dessert. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like the A and Assyria. Like, what do we know about ancient Babylon? Well, it's some dude that got annoyed about the quality of his copper. Right? Like, the amount of information we have there, the amount of things that have survived, part of it is just some guy that was pissed about the quality of his copper. And that is, like, a good chunk of the information we have about that ancient culture that survived thousands of years ago. Is some guy that bothered to write down a complaint about his copper, and that survived. Most of the data on the internet is literally just useless and worthless. I mean, data might not have, like, academic or philosophical value, but data just existing allows future historians to understand what modern life is like. Like, somebody could watch, like, if this live stream survived and 1,000 years from now somebody watched this live stream, they would be able to determine quite a few things about how we just live our lives. The fact that there was a genuine, like, social interaction and communication element between people around the world just watching and talking to people playing video games on websites, that's a big piece of information that a historian could discern just by watching a live stream. Even if the live stream is complete shit. Like, even if this was the Noida live stream. You know, just the fact that it exists would allow people to draw conclusions, and maybe the conclusions would be wrong. Maybe they would think that you worshipped me as some sort of god. But it would lead to conclusions being drawn about the nature of our lives based on the fragments that remain of our society. It's entirely possible that this could be one of the few pieces of information that stands the test of time, and 1,000 years from now, somebody is watching this live stream. Most of the data on the internet isn't on the first page of Google, it's on the much less popular following page where no one goes. I think the English language will be as utilized in 1,000 years from now. I think the English language will evolve, but I think it will still be utilized. There's no way of knowing how the world is going to develop on a global scale, but I'm sure English will still be around in some form in 1,000 years. I mean, right now, I feel like humanity already has a couple of, like, widely used languages, and then languages that are regionalized to just a couple countries. And I think it would take a lot to completely remove the English language. I'm sure it will evolve to be in a state. Yeah, like, English has evolved a lot over time. And I'm sure that English 1,000 years from now could be nigh indiscernible from modern English. I mean, with the basis for that being compare English from 1,000 years ago. Which, actually, was England even around 1,000 years ago? Might have to go like 600 or 700 years ago. I'm not sure when English actually started being spoken. It was kind of an evolution of Germanic languages, right? About racism? I'm sure racism will continue to exist in some form in 1,000 years. Whether or not it would be anything like our modern conceptions of racism, it's hard to know. But I have no doubt that being prejudiced against other people for being different than you will continue to exist for a very long time. Yeah, space racism, if we find alien civilizations, or even just, I mean, 1,000 years from now, it might be less of different countries on Earth compared to different planets, right? Those Mars fuckers, you have some slur for people that live on Mars, the terraformed world over there. Because it's impossible to predict what the world's going to be like 1,000 years from now. Science is technically realistically the standard language for the universe, but we aren't completely certain that we found an alien they'd be able to understand science. Science isn't a language. It's not strictly a language, but it's a system of solving problems that theoretically should be universally translatable. I mean, science is the process of observation and studying like cause and effect and deductive reasoning, which, while strictly speaking isn't a language, is a system of understanding that theoretically any intelligent creature should understand. Yeah, I mean, somebody had mentioned this before, but, like, it is extremely unlikely for any kind of, like, catastrophic global extinction event to occur that would wipe out humanity, such that it would be a consideration that we wouldn't be around in 1,000 years. Like, even if there's some kind of global disaster, the odds of humanity completely ceasing to exist, unless the entire Earth is made inhospitable to life, is just very low. You know, societies rise and fall, countries might fall, but, like, in some form, I have no doubt that humanity is going to continue to exist in 1,000 years. Maybe it's just some random people on some isolated island in the middle of the Pacific, that branch their way out and begin exploring the ruins of our old cities, and uncovering the pieces of data scraped together there, but, outside of some cosmic or global disaster that renders the Earth inhospitable to life, I don't think that's going to happen. Or characters called Artificer the most fun? I don't agree with that one. I think Risk of Rain 2, Artificer is fun, but I wouldn't say she's the most fun. And in Rain World, I mean, Artificer's cool, but I don't know if I'd call her the most fun. She's definitely, like, got the most action-y mechanics, but I find Rain World's gameplay to be more fun as, like, Hunter. Yeah. Like, humans evolved in a way that allows them to adapt to different environments very well through the usage of tools. And they exist in so many different places around the world. Like, unless every single corner of the Earth was rendered uninhabitable, humanity's not dying out. I mean, a nuclear Armageddon would need to destroy every society across the entire Earth, which, I mean, I don't know what the prospects of a nuclear fallout are, but destroying the entire world as opposed to large parts of the world would be a lot. At some point 1,000 years ago, humanity almost went extinct, but they didn't. But yeah, there were some bottleneck points throughout human history. 10,000 years ago. And at that point, humanity was nowhere near as established as it currently is. Imagine what humor would be like in 1,000 years. I mean, it'll probably be similar to what humor is now. Humor hasn't changed that much over the years. I don't think it's going to be that different. I mean, I'm sure there are contextual, cultural jokes that won't make sense, but... humor has become more vulgar. I don't know if that's the case, that purple worm, or that purple goose, because what we have recorded of humor of hundreds or thousands of years ago is not the same thing. Jackie Worm said a message right after you. I just misread it. What we have recorded and what we've seen is not the same thing as what people found funny, right? Like, people could have been walking around drawing dicks on walls and making jokes and shitposts and stuff like that. It just wasn't written down, or it was... you know, it was done by lower class people that didn't have the resources to write it down in books. Or it was seen crass to buy a book where that sort of thing was done. But, like... just because it wasn't what we see recorded doesn't mean that it wasn't what it was. And I'm pretty sure we have seen jokes, pretty crass and vulgar jokes throughout history. I mean, Shakespeare, like they were saying, has a lot of just very lowbrow humor in it, and vulgar humor. That's why he was so popular, because people really resonated with that. He was making jokes that people found funny. In some old Roman bathrooms, there were a bunch of carvings of dicks. Yeah, I mean, I don't think humor has really changed that much. We just don't have a good understanding of what humor was like. Think any continent is going to get wiped off the map in 1,000 years? I think with rising sea levels, it's plausible that some areas could be underwater. Like, I don't know if entire continents, but countries like... I know Japan has a lot of issues with rising sea levels, especially in certain islands. And in 1,000 years, that could be exacerbated to the point that the entire place could be underwater. The southern U.S., Florida especially has a lot of issues with imminent flooding, and it's entirely possible Florida just might not exist because of falling underwater. What You Do About Nothing was slang for the vagina, and it's what you'd expect with that title. We should also entertain the possibility that what we consider to be humor may not be humor to them. What if the dicks on the wall of the bathroom was to remind you that this is a men's bathroom? It's possible. It's hard to know. And that's the challenge that historians face, is piecing together those small pieces of information and figuring out, is this sincere? Is this a joke? Is this meant to signify something else? And the fact is, I just don't think we have very many examples of what people found funny. I mean, surely people made jokes 1,000 years ago. People had comedies. There were, probably comedians. There were kids that were making all kinds of schoolyard jokes. But we just don't know what they were. And what we have doesn't indicate that people were, prudish or had very refined senses of humor. We definitely have seen examples of people being very vulgar. It's difficult to know what life was like. And it's entirely possible 1,000 years from now, they might have the same problem. What if the comedy that survives, is some random YouTuber's reaction videos, and not even a good YouTuber, some 15-year-old kid with 200 subscribers that happens to, his personal PC happens to survive the test of time, and we have his, recordings of trying to be funny to an audience. Or what do we have? Well, we have some random TikTok video of some guy pulling pranks, and lighting some random woman on fire from the prank. I guess this is what people found funny 1,000 years ago. The concept of vulgar humor isn't a novelty, only the means to which we express that vulgar humor is changing and evolving. Yeah, I mean, I think if a modern human were to be transported 1,000 years ago, barring the language barrier, I don't think it would be that difficult to get along with humans of that time. There would be cultural differences, things would be weird, there'd be some adjusting, but I don't think humans have fundamentally changed in such a way that we are drastically different than we were 1,000 years ago. No, Donnie, because I don't think there is a right religion. Real comedy that survives, Xbox Team Chat rages. Okay. Well, like I said, I'm going to take care of these pillars off stream. Next time we play, it'll be the Moonlord. I know this is going to reset their shields. It's alright. We finished the pillars. That was the 4th one there. I'm not going to actually kill them here because, I'll be real, I'm just going to, take another weapon and kill them off stream. I've shot them with a flare gun before. It takes, an hour or two. You just sit there and hold down a button. I don't really feel like doing it again. I'm just going to, hit him with a pickaxe. What do you think would happen if you made a Latin translation for some movie and made an ancient Roman watch them? I mean, I think they would understand it. They'd probably be surprised, but, it's not like the concept of a movie is difficult to understand, right? An ancient Roman would go, okay, I mean, this is really cool and, unbelievable, but it's still, you're watching something. It would be, especially if you explained it to them. It's a play without live actors. Yeah. It's a play that you can watch whenever you want. Or a vehicle. Okay, well, it's a horse-drawn carriage that doesn't need horses, right? Stuff like the internet would be a lot more difficult to conceptualize and wrap your head around. Like instantly communicating with somebody over a vast distance, rather than something like, oh yeah, it's like a play, but I can watch it whenever I want. This is chess. I stream at noon EST on days where I feel like it, Joachim. I don't have a strict schedule. It's a bit erratic. I do it most days unless I have something else going on, but it's hard for me to commit to certain days. Yeah, I have a stream announcement channel on my Discord server. I send out a ping whenever I stream. Yeah, I will probably... I'm not sure if I'm going to do the Moonlord tomorrow or Wednesday. I will have to see what I'm doing and how I'm feeling. I'll probably announce in Discord whether I'm going to do it tomorrow or Wednesday. But Moonlord should only take one stream. Imagine rich Romans would love to be able to watch their favorite play whenever they want without having to set it up with actors and stuff every time. Yeah. Or like a picture would just be a painting, but it doesn't need time to dry. It's just a really high quality painting that you get immediately. I don't, like, ancient humans were not stupid. They weren't just dumbasses that have no understanding of how things work. I mean, they set up very robust societies and accomplished some incredible things. I don't think they'd have trouble wrapping their head around a movie. But yeah. Bye, everyone.